Hi, I'm Brien Lundin of Gold Newsletter, and I am here at the Metals Investor Forum in Toronto, right before the PDAC. And I had the great pleasure of talking with Michael Rockandel, who's with corporate development of Prospector Metals. Prospector has been one of my highest conviction plays for, I guess, a couple of years or so now. Well over a year before they drilled their ML prospect in the Yukon, I had it as my top recommendation before the drills ever turned because of historic work, because of their work, understanding the historic work, where the historic work missed. And the team behind it is really one of the best in the industry with the Discovery Group. I'm taking all of your talking points away from you, Michael. But let's get started on it. Give us a little bit of the background of the group and the prospect. And I may actually overstep you because I'm so excited about this prospect as well. So,
Please do. So Prospector is a Discovery Group company, of course. Many of you will know it from Great Bear Resources, of course, Kamenak, which our CEO and co-chairman Rob
yeah.
was integral to. He was the co-founder and discoverer of the Coffee Gold deposit in the
Mhm.
Yukon as well, about 12 or so years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the team, as well as Jody Gibson, our VP of Exploration, who was responsible for the Golden Saddle deposit at White Gold, as well as Underworld Resources in 2009. So there's definitely a wide breadth of corporate experience in the Yukon.
Yeah, this will be or is our, I guess, third winner in that kind of heritage for our Gold Newsletter readers. We were early in Kamenak, made a lot of money for our readers there. We were the only newsletter to ever recommend Underworld, where Jody was really driving the bus for that. The history when Rob Carpenter, the uh, uh, CEO of Prospector, told me about the ML prospect, had our first meeting, I looked at it, I was blown away at the potential, and I wanted him to start the drills right away. And he said, no, we're going to do the work first. And they did the work. And, well over a year before the drills were turning, I was recommending it. And we were not disappointed. The drills literally turned the other direction, which sounds like a cliche in this industry, but in this case, it actually worked from what was historically done. Developed a lot of gold along a trend, but then had a really big hit on a new discovery. Tell us about that. What they found initially in the big discovery.
Yeah, so initially we, like Brian said, turned the drills around and totally re-examined our area known as like Scarred Ridge Bueno. And a lot of that came down to the fact that historically when it was kind of drilled from a horizontal perspective like that, whereas in reality, the gold veins are sheeted vertically. So we just turned the drills around and we're able to achieve much higher intercepts by
Yeah.
just doing that.
It's rare, it's almost unheard of in the history of mineral exploration to have your first hole be your best hole. So if that's not the best hole, now importantly, this was a blind discovery offset from another high grade hit that the previous operators had had, or kind of a high grade zone. So right there, we've doubled the potential. It's apparently going to be open along trend. But what I found really exciting is the indicator minerals that you're finding and the innovative way that you're doing that through LiDAR and worldview and the like. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I think a real part of the conversation about Prospector is the presence of the jarosite anomalies,
Yeah.
and having these parallel jarosite
Jarosite
trends.
is a very
It's basically
typical specific mineral.
Yeah, it's basically it's a sulfidization oxidizing at surface.
Mhm.
So what that just shows us is that there is this sulfides coming to surface and they're oxidizing along these trends, these parallel trends that kind of stretch about 4 kilometers in radius around the test zone.
And because they come to surface and they're oxidized, they give a very specific signature for those worldview satellite surveys.
Yeah, they give a very, very predictable signature.
Mm.
And we found that, not only does it show up very predictably on the satellite data, but also we can find it very reliably just prospecting along these kind of collars, if you will,
Mhm.
these steep collars.
And it's very closely associated with where you're actually getting your drilling hits.
Exactly. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very closely associated.
All of this leads us to say if our viewers can go to the company's website and look at their slide showing where the jarosite is, it's all over. It's all over the prospect. And it is where they're getting the drill hits. So this is very exciting for next year because you've done all the proper work, the field work to narrow down where you want to go. And now you've got the money to do it and you've got a drill program to do it.
Yeah, I think it's really exciting. I mean, we're going to start out with one drill, like you said, along trend of the existing test zone. And we'll probably have results for that out, say early July.
Mhm.
And then shortly after we mobilize that drill, we'll start mobilizing a second and third drill, identifying those kind of 4 kilometer radius targets that are very similar. And, I think it remains to be open to see if, we have the cash in the bank to ramp up the program with a fourth drill if we really like what we see.
Mhm.
And, we've definitely cracked the code of what we're looking for.
Yeah.
We know the signature, and we've done a lot of really good behind the scenes work in the off season to kind of really know exactly what we're going to be looking for when we get that core out.
And before I forget, I know Test Zone made the highlights of that, obviously, with those results, but you had already delineated multi-kilometer trends of really good mineralization. I would say averaging at least a couple of grams per ton over great widths, over potentially kilometers connecting targets. So there's a lot more to this story than just tests, even though that's really exciting, and more tests will be exciting.
Yeah, I think like Scarn Ridge is a very underplayed area. I
Mm,
think if it was a standalone company, Scarn Ridge would probably have a pretty high valuation,
mm,
respectively. And the footprint of the property, as Rob would say, is anything like he's ever seen. If you ever look on the website and look at the map, there's basically a giant line of 10 gram per ton grab samples
mm,
for the entire property. And, one of the interesting things I think as well is, of course, we still are an intrusion-related gold system, much like Sitka, Snowline, Banyan,
yeah,
but,
but you have the intrusion.
and we have the intrusion, but
Yeah,
to date, no one's ever drilled it.
yeah, yeah.
And I think that could be an interesting part of the story as
It,
well.
it's interesting to me that in the overall region, that's the big thing, the intrusion-related gold systems, where you have multi-million ounce uh, deposits have been found, but these other deposits, they're still looking for the actual intrusion that created the mineralization. You've kind of reversed it, flipped the script. You found the intrusion, and you found a high grade,
Mm,
and it looks to be pretty extensive. A key point as well is that, and you made this to me earlier, is that you don't have to raise money at any time in the near future. The company raised some $40 million taking advantage of the excitement over the drill hole. There's not going to be any blood in the water this season. The market's not going to sense that you need a financing, and the only way to get on board is to buy the stock.
mhm. Yeah, we've had a lot of institutions reach out to us, that were a bit upset that they couldn't get in,
Mm.
obviously, on any financing. So they're buying in the market, which is really good for the stock price. And, for retail investors, there's no future dilution or anything on the horizon. So
Yeah.
it's definitely a very encouraging.
Yeah,
Story.
and one of the things I found is I don't think there's a better entry point on the horizon. I actually told my readers that during the long winter of no news, that the price would probably come down and give us a better entry point. That hasn't happened. You have a lot of strong shareholders. It is the smart money play in exploration in the market right now. Uh, Prospector Metals, my top exploration play in our portfolio. It's been a big winner for us. I think it's going to be a big winner for the rest of the year. Thank you, Michael, for telling us all about it.
Thanks, Brian.